Everybody, welcome to Brighter. So there's recent news that the Prime Minister of Thailand is saying that possibly Tesla's going to build a Gigafactory there. Let's take a look at, is this a great location? What's the likelihood? So we've got Brian White joining us, and Brian has done an amazing analysis of all the different countries. Like I'm talking 30 plus countries where he looked at deep dive of which countries is best for Gigafactories. He had done this last year. And so far, he's ticking them off one at a time. And I want to hear his opinion of what he thinks if Thailand is right or not. Welcome, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing so great, Herbert. It's fun because I made this video a year ago. The channel was much smaller at the time, and it didn't really get a whole lot of attention. The idea was I'd started by saying, Giga India is next. And people said, yes, but what about all these other countries? And I said, fine, let's look at those too. So I started with a dozen, and then I went out and got my viewers to suggest all kinds of others. And based on viewer feedback and some of my own thoughts, I actually did 24. There were additional candidate countries that just didn't rise to the level of consideration, and Thailand did rise to the level of consideration.
It did. Interesting. Okay, we're going to dive a little bit deeper there, but I mean, I don't know anybody else who has done the work you did. One time we did a show in India, and you spent an hour teaching me everything about India. And then, of course, you lived in China, so we did another show there. So you are very special. The knowledge you've got is amazing. So I don't know if you can remember a lot about Thailand, but let's go and dig deep. And so, folks, check him out at his YouTube channel, MyTeslaWeekend. It is very special episodes or deep dive information that he shares there. Okay. So this was in news. Yeah. Go ahead.
Please.
Okay. So this was in news that Tesla is considering building an EV factory in Thailand, said the Prime Minister. This is the Prime Minister, I don't know how to say his name, Thavisin. So he comes after he met with Elon Musk in New York last week. So the Prime Minister expects to receive at least $5 billion in investment. What's confusing is that he said the investment is expected to come from Tesla and Google and Microsoft. So we don't know if that's $5 billion for all three, or is it, is it one from just from each? So he didn't really explain that, but I'm assuming that he's combined all three to make the number bigger. I don't know.
I would.
So this Prime Minister was speaking to reporters at the UN General Assembly in New York. Then he had met with Elon, and then he was after the meeting. He did send out a tweet saying that he was quite impressed about Musk, and he talked about all three companies that they were referring to. So Thailand is the fourth largest automobile assembly center in Asia. I did not know that. Now that's a little confusing sentence too. Fourth largest in Asia, I guess.
Yeah.
The country is offering incentives to electric vehicle and battery manufacturers, as well as tax cuts for local electric vehicle buyers. Tell me, Brian.
So the biggest are China, Japan, and Korea. So fourth largest doesn't sound big until you realize the three ahead of you are China, Japan, and Korea. Those are big, big auto producing countries. They've got a Toyota factory. If you take a taxi in Thailand, it was built in Thailand. One of the deals that they had made, as I understand it at the time, was they wanted Toyota to build a factory. And Toyota said, we're concerned that the market is too small. And Thailand said, okay, what if we pass a law that says all taxis have to be Toyotas? And they said, we'll build a factory. So
really?
Oh, sure. So they are not opposed to using their political will. Otherwise, they would not have had the factory. And then it doesn't take long before your first factory is a success. And now you've got people with experience, with know-how, with hands-on real. And then the supply chain begins building up behind it. And I believe they were already making car parts. So it wasn't like this was some new proficiency to get the rest of the supply chain running. When we look at candidate countries like Saudi Arabia did not make my list because they don't have minerals, they don't have parts, they don't have the engineering, the depth of engineering talent. They only have something like a few dozen universities in total versus somewhere like India where they have over 6,000 technical universities, like STEM universities. So, but Thailand has all the pieces, but on my list, they didn't excel because of some of the pieces that were missing.
Wow, Brian. Okay. Again, why do you always blow my mind with the knowledge you've got? Okay, so a couple points here. So first of all, Saudi Arabia, wasn't there an article that came out last week said Tesla is planning to build a Gigafactory in Saudi Arabia? Luckily, or fortunately, Elon came and said just that's not even true at all, right? But
like 4 seconds later, nope. No, I'm not.
No. But then we do know that Saudi Arabia is investing in Lucid. So they are definitely trying to break into the electric vehicle market because they know that they know that gas, oil could be dying industry. They need to invest in this.
And they have enough money, it makes sense to diversify.
Okay. Going back to Thailand, though, you blew me away. You just said that they passed the law that says all taxis have to be Toyotas in order to convince Toyota to build a factory there. Is that really, really true? That's amazing.
That was what I was told by my friend who lived in Thailand when I pointed out to him, boy, every taxi we've been in is a Toyota. And he goes, yeah, that's the law. They have to be.
First of all, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant move by Thailand.
And it's an easy opportunity. And also it's good for everyone because previously the taxis weren't domestically built. So what are we going to do? Buy an imported taxi or require that it be a locally built Toyota? It's just a good plan.
Smart plan. I wonder if I know I was going to say Tesla can do something like that, but that's interesting. Create a law that you have to buy Teslas. That's so smart.
Well, they are creating a law surely at some point. I don't remember. I haven't checked into this one that all cars are going to have to be electric at some point. Most countries have established those rules, and that is the same thing all over again. Yeah. So, would you like to hear the factors that I considered for coming up with my mathematical? There it is. So we've got what? Yeah.
What's the GDP? Let me set the stage.
Yeah. Sure.
I just took a screenshot of your spreadsheet. We are not in this video meant to dive deep, so don't bother. It's just to show you that Ryan creates these spreadsheets. He does all these factors. He's going to speak to it. I did not want to, open up his spreadsheet and go through details. Let's hear him talk about it. So go ahead.
Sure. So the factors I weighed were GDP, 10-year GDP projection, corruption perception index, on which they didn't score great, but not too bad. Political stability, they had a real low score on that. That's a big chunk of what killed them last time. That's probably changed. I assume that changes regularly. Median income is very low, which is good for manufacturing, but not good for purchasing. It limits your purchasing power. And then another big ding was lack of domestic resources. They don't have iron, they don't have copper or nickel. They don't have a lot of the things you might need to build the car. They do have the supply chain. They do have great, above average import and export tariff situation going on. And let's see, what else do we have there? They did not score well for domestic auto sales because it's so low, but they did score well for grid stability. And these are not opinions of mine. Of course, as you could see on that graphic, all of these things were notated. I showed my sources so that you can, if you disagree with me, when and where you disagree with me, you know at least where I'm coming from, and you can decide to make adjustments accordingly.
So just to summarize this whole thing, what was their score? 22 out of 25 or something like that? Like
22 out of 24. Yes, 22 out of 24, which at a glance you think, boy, that's the bottom of the barrel. No, the barrel only includes countries that were either very strongly recommended or that I considered valuable. So 22 is quite good because it's not out of 24, it's out of 200. And they're so almost top 10% of countries. And yeah, let's not forget, fourth biggest automaker in Asia. And, definitely in the top 5% globally.
All right, so let's just take a quick look at the article again. It says Tesla's considering building an EV factory in Thailand. expects to receive at least $5 billion investments. So none of this is really real.
No.
What do you think about this rumor? I mean, it came from the prime minister. So, and he just met with Elon.
Yes. And how many prime ministers have said the same thing? And maybe not prime ministers, but people high up enough to be in a position to actually say it. What we're going to see is the Mexico factory get built and ramped. Sometime along that process, we're going to hear announcements about additional countries. We were all just sure it was going to be an expansion in China, but we were sure of that a year ago, 2 years ago. We haven't seen it. So it could still be China, but it might not be. It might be India, it might be Thailand, or somewhere else entirely. But what we're seeing is increasingly the political will is there. Everybody wants him to bring an operation to their country because not only is it going to generate buckets of tax revenue, but it is a big point of prestige. Do you want the most exciting, fastest growing major car company who frankly changed the way cars are built to come to your country? Of course you do. So
of course you do.
I think if you're a prime minister and you're not trying to get him to build a factory, you're not doing your job.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Follow Brian at YouTube at MyTeslaWeekend. Appreciate you joining me every Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Herbert.
Hey there. Thank you for joining me. If you can, please consider supporting this channel so I can keep it going. It's a lot of work arranging all these amazing interviews. One of the easiest ways is just to click that join button and become a member of the channel. Thank you very much. Let's get brighter.